What the heck is whoa and hey, hey, hey? I mean, why not watermelon? I love watermelon.
And the home of the brave.
Welcome to episode 19 of the Hit the Deck podcast, where we talk deck hockey, street hockey, ball hockey. It's hockey in sneakers. Oh, 19 episodes. Our little podcast is all grown up, about to leave its wild teenage episodes. Oh, they grow up so fast, don't they, James?
Yes, they do. So this is going to tie in nicely with what's on deck tonight, too. But great job in raising this wonderful podcast.
Oh,
Mr.
and to
Cheema.
you. And to you. It was definitely a joint effort. How are you, James?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, sir?
I'm not too bad. Not too bad.
Awesome. Very cool.
So, you know what? Why don't we just get into it? Why don't we get into the starting lineup? So, for tonight's starting lineup, in goal, I am the American Rhino, number 35, Gary McComiskey. And, of course, my co-host.
On defense, number 4, I'm James Sajazi.
And joining us once again from Snipetown.
On defense, we have Sam Cheema, and I wear number 21.
All right. So thanks for joining us again, Sam. We'll talk to you in a little bit. And for you, James, would you be so kind as to tell us what's on deck for this podcast, please?
Would be happy to.
Thank you.
Sure. Father's Day. It's time to celebrate dear old dad, everybody. Father's Day is June 19th, and as we did here at Hit the Deck for our dear mommies in May, we will do for our daddies in June. All good fathers are invaluable, hockey dads included. So make sure you honor your deserving dads on Father's Day, and God bless them for all that they do. 1980 U.S. Olympic Team Gear Auction. Legendary players have been auctioning off some of their historic game-used gear. And won't you take me back to Snipetown? It's the conclusion of Hit the Deck's interview of Mr. Sam Cheema from the great hockey magazine and website, Snipetown. Sam embodies all that is good about hockey at all of its levels and why hockey players and fans love the beautiful sport so much. Sam and his fellow staffers at Snipetown are Hit the Deck's kind of guys and gals. And if you didn't think so during last edition's part 1 of the interview, you'll know why after this podcast. And that's what's on deck.
Thank you, James.
You are very welcome, sir. Thank you for that opportunity.
No, of course. So, Father's Day is coming up this Sunday, huh?
Yes, sirree, and we'll mention it later on again, but very happy Father's Day to you, sir.
Oh, I thank you, sir. Well, happy Father's Day to you. Aren't you? You're a godfather, aren't you?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's how I backdoor it. So my brother and sister-in-law did all the work, and I get to have all the fun with the niece and nephew, which is the benefit of being an uncle or an aunt. So I take full advantage of that, and thank you very much.
I'm going to give you some playtime you can't refuse.
Yeah, I wish I was that kind of godfather, actually, but I don't have any power whatsoever. So. Plus, like we said before, my nephew actually beats me up, and he's only 4 years old.
You have mentioned that. Yeah, that's okay. I don't hold it against you.
But, yeah, getting right into it, hockey traditions, the love of playing and or watching hockey has been passed down from fathers to their children as long as hockey has existed. And we have a prime example right here, Mr. American Rhino himself.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do try to pass down my love of hockey to my daughter. My daughter Julia, who is 5.5, I guess.
Yes, that half is important for
yeah,
this kid.
No, definitely. She is, well, It took a little time for her to actually care. It's a process. First, it's recognizing which team is the Rangers. Then it's trying to convince her that the Rangers are the team that we want to win. And then finally, it's getting her excited about when the Rangers score goals. I think the last step is going to be, she's recently become very interested in the outcome of Mets games. So I'm hoping when next hockey season rolls around, she'll be equally interested in the outcome of Ranger games. So, I'm doing my part.
Excellent work at that, too. Yeah, it helps that she's just a talented and very intelligent young lady, too. So, exactly. It's funny, as we take for granted, I guess, growing up, my whole life, my parents are sports fans. My mom's a huge Mets fan, and my dad loves hockey and football as well as soccer for us Americans. But it's, you don't realize it's just ingrained in you that you need to learn these basic things, like which team to root for, what jerseys they're wearing, who's the home team. And it's difficult in hockey. It's really hard to follow the game on TV and especially on the radio. And your daughter is as sharp as they come. So I'm sure she's in great hands, and she'll only just learn to love it a bit more, and it's much more fun when you know what's going on. Thank you, Fox, with that stupid glowing puck that they
Fox
experiment.
Tracks.
Oh my gosh, I'm a hypocrite for working for that company, but they almost killed Brian Leach because of that stupid puck. But that's a whole issue for another episode, I suppose.
Well, I can't take all the credit. My dear wife does, of course, also bring a love of hockey to the family, and she does just as much to try and excite my daughter and educate her into hockey. In fact, my wife claims to be able to follow a hockey game on the radio quite well, so hopefully that's something she'll pass on to Julia.
I wish she'd pass it on to me, too, because when I'm listening, I'm always hesitant to cheer if there's a goal scored. Should I be excited? Should I be angry? So
I struggle with it a bit, too. So
right, it's hard, but yeah, again, I mean, you being a father who both plays deck hockey and hosts a weekly podcast about deck hockey, so that's pretty cool to have a little daughter to pass that on to as well.
Yeah, and I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but Julia really does. She really badly wants to play deck hockey with us. She's mentioned many times that she wants to play, and I tell her when you're a little older, because right now everybody's a lot bigger than you, and even the stick is bigger than you, and it's not really safe for you to play. But we'll get her. We'll get there. And I actually, it's funny. I do have a personal stake in passing on deck hockey to Julia. My parents love to buy her stuff because they're grandparents, and that's what grandparents do. But recently they were getting her a new bat and ball, or a couple of bats and balls. I don't know. My parents have no common sense. But so they were in the store, and they were getting these bats, and they're like, my mom texts me. She's like, "Oh, which hockey stick do you like?" I was like, "Why do you have a Julia-sized hockey stick?" She's like, "Oh, you mentioned you wanted to get her one. So here, we were going to buy her one." I said, "No, I want to buy her one. She's my daughter, and hockey is my thing. So I'm going to get her a hockey stick. Thank you very much." So, I do have a personal stake as her father, and hockey is something that is important for me to be able to pass on.
Absolutely, that's great, and that's also awesome that your parents, or at least their hearts were in the right place, and I'm glad that they had.
No, sure, their hearts definitely were in the right place, but
and to their credit too, they actually asked you first, which is pretty rare. Mm-hmm. So that just goes to show you what great folks, and why you're such a wonderful young man yourself. So good stuff.
Thank you.
And speaking of pops and fathers, our very own Mr. McCullough of the LIQ and the voice of Hit the Deck, no less. Now, obviously, Gary, you know him a bit better than I do, but we got a few fathers in the LIQ, which is great. And Mr. McCullough is kind of our adopted father of our league, too. Yeah,
well, I mean, he's the father of someone in the league.
That's right.
And so he is, but yeah, he is definitely, I guess, if nothing else, he's definitely the oldest person in our little association. But he seems to be, with his current health, he seems to be transitioning from player to referee full time. And, hopefully that'll be a good adjustment for him health-wise. But he definitely is somebody that's very important to the LIQ. As I said, referee, timekeeper, official net transporter.
Right?
I was going to say netminder, but I guess that would be
That's
me.
you.
So that doesn't really work. But yeah, he's the keeper of the nets, although not the keeper of the goal, which again is me. But yeah, he's a valuable, vital member of the LIQ, and we're very happy to have him. And obviously, he contributed in large part to the upbringing and love of sports of Rob, who is his son, member of the LIQ, and founding member of the LIQ, and basically the whole reason why this little endeavor got started. So, you know, the McCulloughs on the whole, and Pops especially, have played a huge role in the founding of the LIQ and my own personal love of deck hockey, and I guess your rekindled love of the sport. So we both owe him a great debt of gratitude. Thanks, Pops.
Amen. Thanks, Pops.
And we'll thank you again at the end of the show.
That's right. And thanks, Rob, for sharing him with us, too. We appreciate that.
Yes. Thank you for not being selfish.
Yeah. So, Gary, as you mentioned in a few podcasts ago, your connection with your father, one of the specific things was knock hockey.
Yeah.
And,
my dad wasn't really a hockey fan growing up. None of my family was. Hockey was just kind of something, as I've said before, that I came to on my own. But my dad did love to play knock hockey. And even before we ever started watching hockey games, we'd play knock hockey a lot when I was a kid. And so that's something that I definitely associate with my father. And that's kind of a quote-unquote hockey tradition that I get from him. So for that, I'm very appreciative, and I'm glad I can share that with him.
Awesome. And, yeah, personally for me, for my father, one of the things, the many great things that he's done was when his company that he worked for, they had a luxury box at Madison Square Garden, and my dad would always make sure that my brother and I would always get tickets for Rangers games.
Lucky.
Oh, forget about it. We were on cloud nine. The coolest part about it, too, was we were in college at the time. Gary and I both went to the same university, and meaning that there was a lot of free time after class, and it was a little bit easier to drive around from Brooklyn to the city back then. Mm-hmm. It seemed to just get much more congested, and everybody has a car now and whatnot, and with all the construction and so on and so forth. So if my dad would call me in the afternoon and say, hey, I got a couple tickets for you and your brother, jump in the car, go to MSG. We had a place to park it and everything. We had it down to a science. And
this continued even into college, that he had these tickets that you were able to avail yourselves of?
Yeah, my brother and I refer to it as the Gretzky era.
Yeah.
So from 96 through 99, right?
I think 99, yeah.
Yeah. So, that was a blast. And the funny thing, too, was it being a luxury box and my father working for a huge bank. Mm-hmm. A lot of lawyers would schmooze clients there, so we'd always have to behave ourselves and make sure we didn't get too rowdy and whatnot. But, yeah, that was a lot of fun and much appreciated.
Sure. That's awesome. Really, that's great. Way to go, Mr. Sajazi.
Yes, thank you. And another cool thing that my dad did, among many, many things, was he actually bought me my first pair of elbow pads and shin guards for roller hockey, and even got me a puck to practice with.
Hey.
And the really cool thing about that was it was just a surprise out of the blue. It wasn't Christmas time. It wasn't my birthday. And I didn't even hound him for this stuff either. So he just came home one day, like threw the stuff at me and ran off into another room. He wouldn't even let me thank him and stuff because my dad's not the most affectionate guy in the world.
Okay, gotcha.
You know, which I take after him at that. Mm-hmm. It's kind of hard for us to express our emotions, I guess. Maybe we're a little bit of Mr. Spock. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons why I love that character so much. But it doesn't mean that we don't love and show it in other ways. And that's one of my favorite memories I have and something I really appreciate. And that's one of the great things about fathers and their children is that, especially fathers and sons, is guys tend, and this is a generalization, we tend to be a little quieter and not as emotional or as women are, or affectionate, or at least out showing that.
Right.
But, like my father and I could drive to a golf course in Jersey for a couple of hours and not say a word to each other, but that doesn't mean we're angry or anything. It's just we have nothing to say. He tells me where to go and whatever, and that's it. But yeah, when you use the gifts that they buy for you and all of the sacrifices that they make, which they never ever talk about or want credit for, even from working 9 to 5 and keeping food on the table and so on and so forth. It's just really greatly appreciated and from the heart. And especially for fathers and sons, they set examples of how you should grow up as the man you should become.
Yeah.
And for fathers and daughters, and you're a prime example of that, some of the really sweet, touching things that your daughter has said to you over her young life so far, and long life to her, and live long and prosper, if you will, to your sweet, sweet daughter. I mean, father and daughter, is just one of the most precious relationships that there are.
Oh, yeah. She's daddy's little girl. She's and as my wife will be the first to tell you, she's got me wrapped right around her little finger. So,
that goes with
it's just the way it goes. Exactly.
That's right. My mom and her father, unfortunately, he passed away when she was only 18, 19 years old. So my brother and I never had an opportunity to even meet the man. But similar thing, too. He was kind of like my dad, where, he's quiet and not openly affectionate, but and he was very intimidating and stuff, but not to my mom. It was like anything she wanted, or she could even, it's so funny to see that side of you guys just melt when your precious daughters come around. So that's really a sweet, beautiful thing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And to you, Gary, to our dads, our fathers who we just spoke about, to my brother, and to all of the fathers of the LIQ, like Pops, who we mentioned, Patrick, JJ, and Rich, have a very, very happy Father's Day, guys. You men are the best.
Oh, thank you, James.
The best. You got it. Thank you.
Sure. So what's next?
If you're looking for something to get Dad for Father's Day.
Nice.
The two amazing players of the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team, Mike Eruzione and Jim Craig, are auctioning off some of their game-used gear from that legendary series.
What?
Yeah. Captain Mike Eruzione, I should say, auctioned off some of his jerseys and sticks he used during the 80s Olympics versus the Russians, and then when they won the gold as well. That was a few years ago that he did that, and it was to raise funds for his Winthrop Foundation that provides for charities in his hometown in Massachusetts.
Okay.
So it was, basically what he was saying was that he kept the stuff in a hockey bag in his attic, and it was just collecting dust. Now, this gear is priceless, and like the great Indiana Jones said in The Last Crusade,
that belongs in a museum.
Yes, it does.
Absolutely. It doesn't belong in a duffel bag collecting dust. And I don't know if fans have the right to own such historic Americana.
Yeah.
But, that should be in the Hockey Hall of Fame or the American Hockey Hall of Fame and stuff. The Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto, I should say. But
I just hope it doesn't get bought by some Russian oil baron who's going to burn it.
Exactly right. That's true. Fingers crossed there's some stipulation or whatnot that you need to be like the American Rhino. I mean, you red, white, and blue, baby.
It won't be the American Rhino. Trust me. I don't have that much money.
You and me both, brother. But as for Jim Craig, his stuff is being auctioned off right now, but you better hurry because the auction actually ends today.
Today?
All
right. I hope this podcast gets posted early enough so people can take advantage of that.
Yeah, the genius of Mr. Gary Mack, sir, we can definitely put some stuff on the website and our Facebook page to alert people of this. But when you hear this podcast, it will be ending today, June 17th, 2016, and they are estimating that Craig's collection could bring in between $5 to $7 million worth of 17 items that he is auctioning off through Lelands.com. So, like Gary said, if you have the money and your dad's a huge hockey fan and you appreciate this beautiful country that we live in, have at it, man. So,
if I were to get some of Jim Craig's priceless stuff, I probably I wouldn't be playing deck hockey in it.
Oh, absolutely right. Right. Just looking at the website right now, as a matter of fact, I'm trying to find the quote-unquote cheapest item, and it looks like for $500 you could
get a vial of Jim Craig's sweat.
Basically, it's Jim Craig's Levi's jeans and dress outfit worn in the 1980 Winter Olympics opening ceremonies.
Okay, I support a charity auction, but that's a bald-faced cash grab. That's shameless. I know there will be people who will buy it, but that's shameless.
Yeah, but if you're really nuts, if you actually want his gold medal, for crying out loud, that's about $260,000.
That's a lot of money.
Yep. His jersey is about $215,000. And the very famous the actual American flag that he draped himself with after winning the gold medal right now is posted as $195,000.
See, the only thing there that you mentioned that surprised me is the gold medal, because I mean, you want to make a pretty penny off of your memorabilia. I get that a lot of athletes do that eventually, and otherwise, really, it's just going to collect dust. Better that it should go to somebody who's really going to love it and appreciate it. But your gold medal, if I won a gold medal in one of the most iconic moments in Olympics history, I don't know if I'd be so quick to sell that off, even if it would bring me a lot of money.
It's funny you should say that, because you basically just quoted the captain, Mike Eruzione.
Oh,
because, yeah, when he had his stuff that he was auctioning off in 2013, I believe it was right around the anniversary, I think the 33rd anniversary of the Miracle on Ice. He's quoted as saying, "As long as I'm alive, that gold medal won't be sold." So I agree with you. And he basically said the same thing, that it's priceless. It's and they earned it. I mean, they earned it a million-fold.
Absolutely.
So I couldn't agree with you more. That's something that, besides the Stanley Cup and any Olympian out there, obviously, you want that gold medal. I mean, Lord knows what it takes to win those things. Even just to place is remarkable. But I agree with you 100%, man. I mean, that's just, wow. Yeah. You're just, like they said in Wayne's World, we're not worthy, and we are not. So
yeah, I mean, and this isn't like tandem curling that he won the gold medal for. This is this is one of the most iconic moments in Olympic history.
Absolutely, for hockey fans, for sports fans, for American citizens, and I'm sure the military as well. They probably appreciate it a little bit more than any of us, the rest of us, do for their great sacrifices and whatnot. But holy moly, boy, that's something else. So if you're gonna win that thing, hope you earn it in some kind of way, and maybe even donate it to Mr. Craig himself or his family, or
maybe rethink that one, Jimbo. Not you.
Yeah, no,
Craig.
I got you. Definitely. So, but that's that. But act fast, because, like we said, when you hear this podcast, it's closing out today. So good luck.
Supplies are extremely limited.
Yeah, that's right. They are. But if you really go nuts, and if you have a few $1,000,000 to burn, I mean, you could get a jersey, you can get his stick, skates, you could get his mask. So pads, blocker. Even his game-used goalie pants. So, G-Mac, hey, if you need any other...
I got a pair of hockey pants. Thank you.
Okay.
Although that mask is tempting. Although I'd probably want to play in it, and that would just be a terrible idea, so...
I don't know. It's, for $79,000, why not?
Yeah, well, what else am I going to do with $79,000?
Yeah, jeez. You could buy a Corvette, or pay your rent for Lord knows how many years, or put your child through college, but hell, and that's that.
All
so,
right. Well, with that said, why don't we welcome back Sam Cheema from Snipetown and go ahead and get into the second half of our interview. And maybe we'll start off by finding out a little bit more about Sam. So let's go back to that second half of the interview. Here goes.
So, yeah, I'm from the UK. I'm from London, just outside. I watched the Mighty Ducks at 4 years old, and I said to my mum and dad, hey, I want to do that. And they were like, what is that? What is this game? I have no idea. Because my mum's from Ireland, and my dad is Indian heritage, so they're like, what is ice hockey? Lo and behold, I was down on a rink, and I took to it like a duck to water, they'd said. And at age of 7, I joined the team, and the team became we were in the national finals at 7 years old. It's kind of a surreal moment. And then from there on in, I just played all the way throughout. And then at 16, in the way English hockey works, it's basically semi-professional at the top level. Some guys can earn enough to get paid full-time. A great perk is you get accommodation and potentially a car. So when I was 16, while still playing what typically you guys would call junior hockey,
sure,
I signed like a 2-way contract, we call it, with Streatham Redskins. And then I played a couple more seasons with Invicta and Milton Keynes before coming over here in the last couple of years. I'm actually returning in September to play, but hockey's different over there. It's they say in Europe you got Olympic size pads, but in England it's any size pad that you can take. It's
okay.
Some rinks don't have plexi, some got netting.
All right.
Yeah, so home ice advantage is very key for a lot of teams.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Locker rooms are very ambiguous, shall I say?
Okay.
Money-wise, it's difficult to divulge in what guys get paid and whatnot. And some teams are very professionally run, some teams are not very professionally run, but they're all in the same league, all fine for the same thing, which makes it very strange. The biggest downside, I'd say, is probably the coaching aspect over there, where in comparison to here, USA hockey is very much more emphasis on development and that's sort of development of the players, that development of even USA hockey is the roller hockey as well, even probably the DEK hockey. You get hockey guys doing all these different sports and, not just playing on the ice. Whereas in the UK, the development isn't really there as such for coaches, players and refs. So the game kind of becomes a bit stale, and the progression route to bigger and better things isn't on the cards right now. My idea, the way I look at it is they're losing a lot of good talent who want to coach, but at the end of the day, hockey, you can only sacrifice so much, and financial restraints and traveling around the country for no reward, just to pay for yourself to get to a coaching session, it's always at a loss, out of pocket for yourself, and it's that's why I think it's keeping the game back. So a bit of investment there. Probably TV coverage is not up there, but that's not the main thing. You build from the base up, and I think English hockey and UK hockey in general is kind of stagnated. But saying that, in the last lockout, the Elite League had Paul Bissonnette play there. You had probably the best player, Matt Bolesky, who now plays for the Boston Bruins. He was in the Coventry Blaze system. And then Tom Sacito, the last team he played for, I know it was at the Philadelphia, probably it was at Vancouver. So a few guys from the lockout. So but it's UK hockey. It's I would say over here is probably top level Elite League is the comparisons between top end ECHL, and then the step down English Premier League is probably equivalent to, I would say, the Federal League, but without the fighting. I don't know if you know the Federal League, but without the fighting.
Sam, let me just ask you. I've heard in the UK that hockey isn't that popular of a sport. Actually, what I've heard is that field hockey, which is essentially a different sport, is a lot bigger than ice hockey. What is the level of popularity over there?
Yeah, so I'd say, the way I break it down is 4 leagues. Is the Elite League, the English Premier League, the National Ice Hockey League 1, and the National Ice Hockey League 2. So in the Elite League, you can have, I think the limit is now 15 imports. So that's 15 players trained outside of the UK British system. So you could have guys that come straight out of D1 college and go play there. You can have guys like Theo Fleury played in that league. Wow. He came over and he put up some good points, and Theo was fantastic on the ice. I remember watching him when I was a kid, and I was like, wow, what's he doing here? But and then them teams, the arena teams. So Theo played for Belfast Giants. They would average about 6,000 fans. And then Nottingham Panthers, again, they're about 6,000. Sheffield Steelers, 6,000. Braehead, a bit smaller than that. In Glasgow, that's about 4,000. And then when you jump down to the EPL, I'd say the average attendance is somewhere between 1,500 to 2,000 people. And then the NHLer, I say the attendance is anywhere between 500 to 1,000.
Okay.
So, yeah, but there is no TV coverage as such. The Elite League gets a little bit of highlighting on the National Sports Network, which is Sky Sports. But it's, a lot of people have this old idea that hockey's just these knucklehead Canadians going at it, knocking the teeth out. And, hockey, guys are missing teeth. Yeah, I'm missing a couple of teeth myself, but it's not like that anymore. And I think the best way is there's a GM who was at Belfast, did great things there. Now he's at Cardiff and doing even better things in Cardiff. Todd Kelman, he said that basically you're competing not with other sports, you're competing with the things like the cinema or going out for dinner with the family. And the engagement level is what you need for hockey. It's not just what you put on the ice. It's, before the game, after the game, during the game, during the timeouts, during the puck stops, even the music, even the light show, all these little intricate, making it more, so you're paying 15, which is pounds, maybe for a game, which is about $20 or so.
Right.
You've got to really put on the show there, you've got to make sure that, everything, that they come in there and they're like, wow, even if the game is terrible, they're still like, wow, this is really cool, and get people hooked that way, which I think, a lot of teams need to kind of do, even in the NHL. You go to the Barclays Center, there's not really much happening right there and right now. So, I think it's a whole package that you're selling in, and that goes for any sport, especially in today's society where everyone wants to sit at home, no one wants to pay for anything, and just watch things on the laptop, stream them.
Yeah, sure.
You want to get people out there and experiencing real tangible things.
So if I understand what you're saying, the perception in terms of marketing over there isn't so much selling a sport as it is selling a spectacle. Yeah,
I'd say so, yeah. And it's trying to engage fans in a longer term agreement than just a one ticket and done, all right, I went to one game and it kind of sucked, all right, I'm not going again, and I think a lot of teams find in the trouble is you give out these freebies, or you give the kids go free nights, and that may look great because it's bums on seats, but it's really who's really paying for the seats? No one's paying for them. So there's a little gray area there in the growth, but again, if they can get that right, it comes back to this: if the money gets invested in that funnel, then it can come back down to the development and produce hopefully a better product on the ice, which will then grow the national game and get GB up into a different maybe seeding in the IHF World Championships, which will give us more exposure. But there's a couple kids right now who I played with growing up. They moved back over here, but Brendan Polini was one of them. He's a notable one. He was drafted by Arizona in a first-round pick in 2014. He played for Team Canada. I think he moved back here when he was 13. His brother, I was coached by his dad, who was Fred Polini, a former NHLer for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Yeah, and his cousin, Scott Conway, who was a brick kid, went to Penn State last year, went to the BCHL and played for the Penticton Vs and put up phenomenal stats. I think he broke 6 records for the whole league. This year he's going to Providence College. These two kids are, I'd say they're English trained, from day one. So that's great, strides and movement. Yeah, they did the latter stages of their progression over here and skill development. But, just having them two kids alone, it'd be great advocates for what we can do and what kind of talent we can produce if we just really put our mind to it.
Yeah, we appreciate that a lot. And first of all, growing up, I was a huge Theo Fleury fan as well. And then being a Ranger fan, when he came over to New York, unfortunately, we kind of ruined his life. But anyway, I'm glad that he was able to succeed out in England. And it's really cool that you guys you sound like the founding fathers of the NHL for England. And we kind of see that a little bit, I guess, in a little bit of a bigger scale in the States over here with soccer, where we have our version of the Serie A and the Premier League of soccer. We have the Major League Soccer, MLS. which it's come a long way in the last 20 years, but comparatively we can't compete with the European teams. But it's cool to see that at least it started somewhere, it's growing, and that's the benefit of what you guys are doing for hockey out in your homeland as well. And especially in Europe, I mean, hockey's pretty popular with Sweden and Russia and whatnot. So, we appreciate that. And like you said, the more NHLers that get there, hopefully younger kids would maybe, even if they would not totally sacrifice the football for a hockey stick, but maybe they would do both and hopefully progress and contribute for the beautiful sport of hockey in the world and coming over here in the States and in Canada.
Yeah, I think like just getting participation numbers, a stick in hand, it doesn't have to be on the ice. It could be like, deck hockey's the perfect way to get people involved, just getting that first contact. And I do some stuff with Hockey in Harlem. I don't know if you guys know the program. John Sandfield heads it up, and it's a great organization for kids in the Harlem to really, who never really know about hockey, and they register something over 200 kids each year on the ice, free equipment.
That's great.
But John initiated a program up there where it was basically like an intro to hockey, but it was this floorball on a Tuesday. 20 kids showed up, and it was their first taste, and from there a lot of kids got hooked and like, wow, I want to go on the ice now. And just without that program alone, you would have lost 20 kids. So if something like that in schools and the curriculum can be initiated, I think growth levels would be great, and hopefully we get more hockey. It's expensive sport.
Yes, that's true too. Yeah,
and especially ice hockey. The other two forms of hockey, you could probably get away with very minimal stuff, which is great. But brands are now driving prices up even higher. I got word that basically it's now going to be a two-player race, basically, with CCM and Bauer only going to be the main players in the market, which, this year we saw an $800 skate. Next year we're going to see a $1,000 skate. And we live in a world now where, it's very difficult for kids to feel that they have the best product, and the demands on the parents and, to supply for their kids for, you're not going to say to your son or daughter, oh, no, you can't have that because, you want to provide the best. And it's a very materialistic way of looking at things, but it's sad for the game of hockey, I think, greed or however they want to justify it.
No, you're absolutely right. And sorry, James, in other sports, you can share equipment or there's very little equipment needed. Baseball, you can share bats. You need a glove, but a glove isn't that expensive. In basketball, you have one basketball. You need a pair of sneakers, basically. In football or soccer, you have a ball, and you kick that around. But for hockey, everybody needs a stick, everybody needs skates, everybody needs pads and gloves, and you're right, it is expensive, and it does make it a bit inaccessible, which is unfortunate. So it's great that there are programs out there to help kind of defray that cost and kind of help people get into hockey without having to put down that outlay that they may not be able to afford.
Yeah, and I just wish, me and Jane spoke earlier about the Kingsbridge project, that comes into fruition. I know Mark Messer's going to do some phenomenal things there with Bauer, as I believe he works with them. But and just getting people on the ice, and when that comes to fruition, and it's going to be great for New York City hockey, it's going to be great for East Coast hockey and just hockey in general, because engagement level is going to be up, and we're going to be able to see some real strides and hopefully produce the first New York City born NHL, which would be cool to say.
Yeah, we've talked about that project on the podcast before. It is definitely an important project, and I hope it gets off the ground and it is as successful as they're trying to make it.
Yeah.
And in the gear vein, which is an excellent point you brought up, Sam, speaking of Snipetown's creativity and sense of humor, this will all tie in perfectly, which you did a nice job in, whether you realize it or not, is the feature that you guys did called Perfect Starter Gear and What to Give Up to Afford It. It was an excellent example of what Snipetown's all about, and the type of gear that you can buy where you can still have a life and eat and whatever. But how much research went into that, and were those quote-unquote sacrifices totally worth it for hockey?
Every sacrifice is worth for hockey. Whatever you got to do, like, it's worth it. I think there's extensive research done to a degree for that. We actually are now doing a kind of a follow-up series to that. We're working with Evan's friend Jay, who's never played hockey before. He's never really skated before, can't really skate. And so we're going to teach him how to play hockey in a video series. And, last week we got him fitted for all the sizes he needs. And, Jay is from Extra Butter, which is a shoe store, which, and it's kind of like they're on the Lower East Side, and they work very closely with Reebok, and they made a shoe for the New York Islanders this year. I don't know if you saw that shoe at all. It was like a collaboration project, which was really, really cool. Anyway, long story short, Jay's friends with Matt Martin, and he's into... Wow. Yeah, so he's going to deliver one of our lessons, and that's kind of the progression that we came from that starter gear, what to give up. So I guess Jay's sacrifices, he's going to get hit by Matt Martin. Oh, God. Going to feel the full force of 6'4" or whatever he is, 6'5". I don't know how tall he is now. Like, on skates, he's 6'7". I know that's for sure.
He petrifies me from the stands and from TV, so I would never even attempt to be in the same arena as that gentleman.
But you know what it is? It's like the BFG, Big Friendly Giant, off the ice.
Is that what that stands for?
Yeah, he won. I think he won another award this year for being philanthropic and doing all the great things he does in the community and gives back and get involved with whatever they want to do in delivering sessions and on that front as well. He's been great within the hockey community, and he's all about the growth of the game, which is fantastic. So when we get these sessions done and we really teach Jay how to skate, the end goal for him is to join the team out in Aviator that Evan and Jack play on. We have a little Snipetown team out there.
Oh yeah.
So so we're gonna hope to get that going, get him on the ice, get him be able to take a hit by Matt, and that's the progression. But just regarding the article, that's the kind of thing we're into. We're into creative, we're into a bit out there, a bit tongue in cheek kind of thing. And it was very sad to sacrifice the Porsche, but hey, means must, eh?
Yeah, but I mean, who needs a Porsche when you could skate fast anyway? So
yeah,
that was a trade.
Hey, how can you can't drive a Porsche in New York City anyway? So you may as well.
Good point. Good point. So yeah, before we let you go, just one more question for Snipetown, if you wouldn't mind. We, like you said, Gary and I also appreciate the sarcastic sense of humor that you guys have, and the tongue-in-cheek stuff. So one of the other features that you guys did in the first edition was the Forgotten Teams of NYC piece, which I thought was really clever. I read it, I enjoyed it, and I like the fact that you even had limited edition shirts for the teams. Will you be guys doing more creative stories like that in the future?
Yeah, that's definitely something that's up our alley. Jack is obviously the head of editorial. We're working on something right now. We got a few ideas banging around for the World Cup of hockey. The same kind of idea, but it's pretty funny what we want to produce. Again, whatever we think that's gonna work, and whatever content, and we got a big group of contributors who are very keen to help us and write and create these stories of. But the T-shirt series worked well as well with Streaker Sports, that little collab there, and it's something that we were looking to do again come September time for the World Cup of Hockey, and hopefully all the ducks get aligned so we can make it work. But yeah, it's whatever we think that's funny, and we just write it. Like, there's no really rhyme or reason to it, and that's the way it is. And it's like last week we featured a story about Danish hockey team. A guy sent me an email. I read it and I was like, wow, it's pretty funny. And the team's called Fat Boys, and I was like, wow, what calls that team Fat Boys? And so there we made a small town in Denmark. We made a city in Snipetown, Denmark. It's a little cool content like that, little snippets, any random stories, any hockey, like the hockey world is filled with stories. Like, you go into any locker room, there's guys that's reeling off stories. There's always one or two guys in the team that has the best stories, and that's what he does. He'll wait 5 minutes before he's on the ice to get changed, because the rest of the time he's just talking stories. He's just, he's just shooting them from the hip. He's just, and yeah, hockey is, where everything is funny, where everything is cool. There's never really rhyme or reason to it. We're just seeing what's out there and just throwing it.
Awesome. Just a couple of things left from me. Yeah, like Sam mentioned, that feature that you did on Danny Ryland in the first edition of Snipetown. She's a female hockey player, and that was an interesting story. So there's plenty for the ladies out there to check out for Snipetown as well.
No, definitely for on this ladies front, we're going to get even bigger, because we work very closely with NWHL. Danny's obviously the commissioner there. I play on her team on a Tuesday night, so I'm always with Danny. But yeah, it's there's a big, like, the ladies market in this game. It has never been big as it should have been, and Danny has done fantastic things, and especially the league at NWHL, to grow the game, and what they've done within 12 months has been fantastic, and what they continue to do. And I think the number one stat was the USA, the Olympic women's final was the most viewed final. Yes. I don't know what the figures were.
Hockey, yeah, right.
But it's fantastic, like, to see that kind of level of participation and engagement, and it's transferred, because now they're running clinics. They've done one in Jersey, they've done one in Alaska. There's a lot of involvement there on a community basis. And I think a lot of people can relate to these women now in the National Women's Hockey League as well, because, they're getting paid, but they also have a job. And it's great to see I know the captain for the Riveters drives down from Albany for practice 2 days a week. Albany to Brooklyn is not just around the corner, like, hey, let's have a practice. And
it's a day's worth of travel, yeah.
Yeah, and practice is late, Practice is like, I think they're off the ice at maybe 11. Don't quote me on that, but,
wow.
That's a lot of driving, and, and then weekends of games. So it's only going to get bigger. So, if you have ladies listening in, keep following what they're doing, hype them up, because it's going to be a fantastic space, and they're going to rival they're just going to grow the game of hockey even more.
Yeah, and you know what you're talking about, too, coming from your background with hockey in England as well. So very cool stuff. And Gary and I first spoke about Snipetown a few months ago during the Rocky Sullivan's DEK hockey tournament, as we mentioned before. And Gary posted links to Snipetown from our Hit the Deck sources then, and he will do so again now. So for everybody out there to check it out. And Sam, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for your patience and for joining us tonight. It was an excellent interview. I hope you had as much fun as we did.
No, yeah, it's been
definitely
great.
Yeah.
No, I had a lot of fun. Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me on. It's always good to talk more hockey all the time. So,
Sam, before we go, can you just two things? One, can you clarify for me, is Snipetown NYC evolving into Snipetown, or are both websites going to continue to exist?
Snipetown NYC is going to evolve to just snipetown.com, but Snipetown will also embody the Snipetown NYC site on there as a drop-down city.
Thanks for that. And can you please tell our listeners where you can find Snipetown?
You can find Snipetown to buy. You can buy it via our website. And if you want to buy it in a brick-and-mortar, old-school kind of store, you can buy a West Side Stick and Skate, which is on 5th Ave, and it's between 23rd and 22nd Avenue, right by the Flatiron. And you got to check it out. It's a cool hockey store if you're in New York City.
How can we find you on social media?
Jed, follow us at Snipetown NYC on Instagram, Facebook, just Google Snipetown, Twitter, at Snipetown_, all our handles. Yeah, and just anything you want to shoot some videos, shoot some pictures. We always do collaborations, and we want to post, user-generated content. So yeah, shoot us a message.
All right, and please visit snipetown.com for passionate underground grassroots hockey. Thanks so much for joining us, Sam. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Cheers, guys. I appreciate it too.
Thanks again, Sam, for taking the time.
Last minute remaining in the podcast.
Thanks, Pops. So here we are, last minute. We hope you enjoyed episode 19 of the Hit the Deck podcast. and stay tuned next week for our very special 20th episode. You're not going to want to miss that one, so check it out. In the meantime, we'd like to extend a warm thanks to Anthony Sajazi for music used in the podcast. We'd like to thank the LIQ for sound effects. Again, thank you, Pops, not only for being the voice of the podcast, but for being an integral part of the LIQ and everything you do. Thank you, the listener, for sticking with us. Thank you to Sam for spending all that time with us over the course of 2 podcasts to tell us about Snipetown. Please check out Snipetown. It's definitely worth your while. If you're a hockey fan, you are going to enjoy their content. And if you're a hockey fan and you enjoy our content, please subscribe on iTunes, listen to us on Stitcher, check out our Facebook page at Hit the Deck, Instagram at Hit the Deck. Our Twitter is at Hit the Deck Pod. Contact us, email us at hitthedeck@gmail.com. And please, don't be a stranger. James and I would always love to hear from you. James, is there anything you would like to contribute before we wrap up?
Yeah, just once again, very, very, very happy Father's Day to you and all the dads out there.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of all dads everywhere, because I am their elected spokesman, as we know, we collectively appreciate it. So thank you. Thank you, the listener, for sticking with us once again. And please, on Father's Day, if your dad was a good dad and a good hockey dad, he probably taught you this. Please remember, it's deck hockey. Don't be that guy. Thanks, everybody. Maybe we should start off by finding out a little bit more.
Ow!
Maybe I'll take that one again, yeah?
I don't know. It sounded perfect to me. Ow.